Hey, so today we are going to talk about having SMART goals. This is something I think is relevant at the start of the year, given a lot of people are doing stuff like New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. The idea of SMART goals, or this acronym of SMART, is pretty common in business, although the words change. Some people like to put their own little spin on it. I believe these first originated with management guru Peter Drucker, although I'm not sure exactly of the origin, but it's fairly common. And so the idea is, by giving our goals certain characteristics, we make them a lot easier to accomplish, and also we put ourselves on the right trajectory, right? That's the purpose of goals, is to give ourselves direction and also an idea of what we need to do, so that when we're kind of running on autopilot, or looking for how to be productive or move towards what we want, it makes it easier for ourselves. So they're a tool. And so the first one is specific. Specificity is really important, because if your goal is vague, it's very easy to fall off the wagon, or not really, just kind of become detached from it, or it becomes something that doesn't seem quite real, or something that's like you just shrug your shoulders like, I don't know how to accomplish that. So common New Year's resolution is getting in better shape. And so we're going to kind of use that as a bit of an example through all of these, although it applies to other stuff as well. So specificity, get in better shape, is a little bit vague, right? It has to do with, okay, you're talking about making your body look better, or are you talking about making your body healthier? It's not quite clear. So if you were talking about aesthetics, are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to gain muscle? Those would be more specific, losing weight, gaining muscle. For example, if it's about, let's say, heart health, maybe you're looking to get your resting heart rate into a different range, something like that. So you want to have your goals as specific as possible. If you can get more specific, it's better. So the second is measurable. And so a lot of things can be, if you don't have something that's measurable, then you don't know if you've hit your goal or not in a lot of cases. And so people who are perhaps harder on themselves, if your goal isn't measurable, you will just have an easy time being hard on yourself all the time, even if you make tremendous progress. So to use the example, something that's measurable is like the amount of weight you've lost. If you're talking about going to the gym, maybe you want to get to a certain strength level, and so that's an amount in pounds, which is measurable. Something I really like for measurability is, let's say your goal is something like, oh, I want to get smarter, which seems like, okay, hey, that's like, first of all, that's vague, but we can work with it. And something that would be measurable is like, I'm going to read a book 30 minutes a day, right? It's easy to tell when you've accomplished the goal of reading a book 30 minutes a day, or I'm going to read so many books. And so something that maybe relates to intelligence reading is something that you can do and make it measurable, so you know if you've hit it, as opposed to, trying to get smarter and then arriving like sometime in the future where you're just like, have I gotten smarter? I don't know. I don't know if I accomplished my goal. So making something measurable makes it so that you know when you've attained it, and you know when you can set a new goal. Also, quick note, it's good to set new goals right before you accomplish your current goals. That way you always have a direction and trajectory. Okay, the third thing is you want your goals to be actionable. You want them to be something that you want it to be within the realm of your control. So there's a lot of times, so take an example like getting a promotion. That's not within your control, right? That has to do with your boss, and you might not be able to get a promotion or a raise, no matter how effective you are as an individual. But something that you could focus on is, you could say, I'm going to put in XYZ like amount of extra work, or I'm going to do these things to try and make my work better, right? So you can make it stuff that's within the realm of your control. Also, you can look for a different job, right? So you could say, okay, I want to be paid a certain amount, and I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to make a plan to ask for a raise. And if I don't get that raise, I'm going to make a plan to look for a new job. And then you can break it down into steps, right? Where you can be, okay, I need to make an argument about why I'm an effective employee, rehearse some of the points a little bit, try and set up a time for a meeting with my boss, right? Where you can discuss it. Note that it's try to set up a time because your boss might not even be receptive to a sit down. And if this fails, then plan B is look for a different job, right? And so those things are actionable. Just making more money or getting a raise, it's not actionable. So really focusing on things that are within the realm of what you can do. And going back to a point I made in measurability, one of the things you is a good just general kind of principle is the time you spend working on something, that's like almost always something that's actionable. So whatever you want your goal to be, if you make it, I'm going to focus my efforts on this particular thing for this amount of time, that will be an actionable goal, right? Winning the lottery is not, well, it's not even really a goal. That's just like getting lucky, but it's obviously not within your control. And so having other people treat me better, for example, is not something that's within your control. It may be something you want, but doing something like setting boundaries or saying like, if a person makes me feel a particular way, I'm going to have this communication strategy with them, and my goal is to have that strategy with them. That can be something that's actionable. Being treated a particular way isn't. So trying to fit your goals into something that is actionable makes it so you can actually accomplish them, as opposed to just, they're kind of like wishes and you're at the fate of the universe. Actionability is a very stoic idea. They tended to advocate focusing only on things within the realm of your control and nothing else is your concern. Anyways, relevance is the fourth thing you want your goals to be. So, I mean, this is a bit obvious, but you want where you're putting your efforts that are measurable and actionable to be as precise as possible to the particulars of what it is you want. So, for example, going back to the getting in good shape, let's say for you, getting in good shape means putting on muscle. Okay? You want your plan to be as effective as possible to that end, right? And so hypertrophy training is more effective than cardio for putting on muscle. So if you're going to the gym and you're just spending a ton of time on the treadmill, you're spinning your wheels or the treadmill. And it's not that you won't move towards your goal at all, but you want to ask yourself, is this the most effective behavior to moved towards my goal, right? So you take a goal, you make it, let's say it's get in shape, and you try and figure out what's the best way to get in shape, because you want to make it more specific, measurable, and actionable. And then once you have an idea, you want to double check, is this the best way to do this? Okay, so timely. Timely is, can you make progress towards this goal in an immediate way or in a short-term sort of way? It's not that we shouldn't have bigger long-term goals, but like, let's say be a millionaire is your goal, okay? And you're just like starting at the bottom. That's not, first of all, that might not be something that's within your control entirely, but second of all, there's a huge gap between, just starting out at the bottom and making it $1 million, right? It's not like a short-term thing. And so when you have really big goals, the thing you can do to make them more timely is to try and chunk them into smaller and smaller pieces, right? So if your goal is to become a millionaire, then doing something like, okay, I need an investment strategy, and I don't have one, then you can try and do that, right? And so you chunk backwards to the smallest things, where you're like, okay, if I invest $1,000 a month in my investment portfolio, how long will it take me to get $1 million? And you can like work back to trying to get to the smaller and smaller things that are actually actionable and that actionable within a smaller time frame, right? So making an investment strategy would be an example of something that's actionable and timely, because you can make a strategy in this short-term period, and then you can figure out how you can make that strategy work. For our example of get in better shape, or actually, I wanted to quickly touch on, go back to relevance. So for the get in better shape example, a lot of the reason why people want to get in better shape is they just want to feel better about themselves. It's entirely possible that the most relevant task for feeling better about yourself isn't about getting in better and better shape. A lot of people who go to the gym a lot have body dysmorphia, right? And they can be in incredible shape and they think they're in bad shape. In which case, it's less of a getting in better shape activity and more a feeling better about yourself activity, right? And so if that's the case, then maybe doing some sort of like therapeutic work, like, or cognitive behavioral therapy, something like that, might be more relevant to the to what the goal might really be if it's feeling better about myself instead of like having a certain physique. Anyways, back to the timely. If you have really, really long-term outstretched goals and you don't have any steps in between, it kind of creates this like void where you don't have anything to do really, or it doesn't feel like you can make progress towards your goals. And that's like what you want to avoid with all of this. When you have goals that are smart, the idea is that they are very easy to start taking like bites out of the what the work needs to be done, so that you can get to where you want to go. And so you have to make smaller chunks if something is a really big goal. One thing I like to do is you can make a flowchart, backwards planning flowchart, where you name the really big goal, and then you draw a couple lines down, and you're like, okay, what do I need to do this really big goal? And you slowly do this, and then you get to smaller and smaller chunks. So, can you see it? Okay, so you have a big goal, and you're like, I want to get to this, but I got to make it smaller so that I can make these more actionable, more timely, right? And you just chunk it into smaller and smaller chunks until there's something you can bite your teeth into, right? So, and this can be done for like anything. And sometimes when people do this, it's a little bit, I've heard it like, it shakes people up a little bit on occasion, because they realize that there are little things. So going to our get in better shape example, a lot of people are daunted by even the task of going to a gym. And so what you could do to make something more timely, if this going to the gym seems like so far outside your reality, an example of trying to make a smart goal for this is, I can look up local gyms in my area, right? That's probably the most basic thing you could do. And then you could say, my goal is to look up 5 gyms and find 3 that I'm interested in. Okay? Right? This is specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, it's relevant, it's timely. Right? And you can say, this is my goal for the day. And then, let's say on the weekend or the next day even, I'm going to visit the 2 gyms that I'm interested in and see which one I like better or what the rates look like. Right? You're making it into smaller and smaller chunks. And if like going to the gym seems outside your reality, visiting a gym and just checking it out makes it seem more real, right? And so it's making it into a chunk that's maybe more timely and more approachable. Also, some like workouts are really hard, and if you're just completely new, they're not like very approachable, and so you just have to do something that's easier. One of the biggest principles in strength training, which I think applies to real life in a lot of ways as well, is progressive overload. There's this legend that gets cited somewhat often in strength training. It's Milo of Croton, who was a Greek wrestler in, I think he was pretty ancient, like 500 or 800 BC. Can't remember the time period, but the story is he took a calf, like a baby cow, and he would walk up a mountain or a hill, I think it was a hill because Greece. And he'd do this every day, and the calf got bigger and bigger and bigger. And as the calf got bigger, Milo got stronger until he could carry a full bull up the hill. Obviously, no person can carry a bull up a hill, so this is like false. But the idea is, if you start out small, you could progressively get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and better goals. So you might not be able to get through a really hard workout, but you could chunk it backwards into smaller and easier workouts until you can. For a lot of people who are completely sedentary, just saying, I'm going to walk 200 steps a day would make a huge progressive leap in their level of fitness, right? And that is an example of trying to make something more timely. Like, you might not be able to go to like a CrossFit box and do their daily WOD or something, but being able to, whatever it is you're trying to get to, you can always chunk it smaller and smaller until you can try and approach it, right? For a lot of people, particularly women who I've talked to, going to the gym is a little bit scary because of social anxiety of it. And like approaching the free weights in particular is something that I've been told is rather intimidating. So you can chunk this like to a smaller size where I'm just going to warm up with a couple of weights or do like one set in the free weights area in my next workout. And that's all I have to do. I just have to approach the weights, you know, pick up a couple dumbbells, do a few curls, or approach the barbell, just squat a few times, make it look like I'm just warming up for my real workout, and then go do whatever, right? And the idea is you're just exposing yourself to a smaller thing in order to get progressively ramp up. So that's the big idea behind timely. So altogether, if you have these principles behind your goals, you can take your initial goal and try and ask yourself, is this specific? Is this measurable? Is it actionable? Is it relevant? Is it timely? In particular, things to think about when asking yourself this. With specificity, you want to ask questions, or also with relevance, questions regarding the nature of why you want to accomplish the goal, right? Because in the case of getting better shape, usually getting in better shape is something that is instrumentally useful to people, right? Whether it's they want to feel more attractive, they want to feel better about themselves, or they want to be healthier, right? And when you think about it in those terms, it allows you to be a little bit more flexible with thinking, is this the most like relevant thing to achieving that goal? So, for example, being more attractive, there might also be easier avenues of ingress to being more attractive than to like going to the gym. Although I'm a fan of the gym. Just feeling better, for example, is a good reason to like want to get in better shape, just like have more energy throughout the day. But it also might be the case that you want to layer that with other stuff like meditation or mental exercises of some sort. For when you're asking yourself, is this measurable? Is this actionable? Those two often have a pretty good overlap. And you want to make sure, like, trying my best is not measurable. And so a lot of times, one of my problems with like hustle porn narratives is that they just say work harder and make more money, which is not, it's not, neither of those are like measurable or, I mean, they're like kind of actionable, but they have problems. And in the post-hoc analysis, when you're asking yourself, did I work hard enough? There's no, it's not the claim that you didn't work hard enough and that's why you failed, it's not falsifiable. Like, it's not something that you can ever be like, I know for sure I worked hard enough and I still didn't accomplish my goal and that's unfortunate, right? It's always something you can like look back at and be like, oh no, I didn't work hard enough, which is why working harder isn't a good goal, because it's not measurable, right? If you make working hard into a measurable goal, which is I'm going to practice at my craft however long a day, and you do that and then you fail, you can say, okay, I did what I thought I needed to do, and maybe I need to look back at that, and maybe I need to put more time in or have a different approach, one that's more relevant. But you can conduct a useful analysis, right? You're not just like left being like, oh, I didn't try hard enough. No, right? It's not the directive to work hard. It's not like it's false, like you shouldn't work hard, but it's that it's like not measurable. So when you're asking yourself is something measurable and something actionable, these two are very similar, because when you make something measurable, generally speaking, if it's an activity you can do, you're also making it actionable, right? If you're I'm trying to think of like a good example of something that is measurable but not actionable. Usually it has to do with like other people, right? Because you can't control other people's behavior. You can only control your own. You can make yourself more approachable and like more sociable and like those sorts of things, but in the end you can't control other people's behavior. So let's say you want to meet new people. Getting like X number of phone numbers, that's measurable, but it's not necessarily actionable, right? Because people have control over whether they give out their phone number or not. So trying to, when you're thinking about measurability and actionability, when you're asking yourself, it really comes down to, do I know if I've done this? And do I know very clearly and unambiguously? The most common one I see is like, work harder. You like might not know if you've done this. Also, if it's not numerical, you can trick yourself into thinking you've worked harder when you really haven't, which is another reason I don't like it. Okay, and then the third is actionable and timely. These kind of go together. If something's not very timely, like, the question you should ask yourself for actionability and timely is, can I make steps to accomplish this goal today or within the next week? You know, within a time frame that seems like I'm actually making progress. And if the answer is no, you probably need to try and break the goal down into smaller chunks in order to make the goal more approachable, right? And so when you're talking to yourself, asking yourself questions, is this smart for actionable and timely? You really want to be able to know if you've let's see, or you want to know that you can make progress towards it in an immediate way. And if the answer is no, you probably need to take a closer look at the goal. Okay, so all these together is a good way to analyze the how to make goals that are ones that are going to be a bit more robust in terms of they're going to help you actually get where you want, and also you're not going to spin your wheels a lot. And like the work harder one is like one that just annoys me so much, because it's not measurable or actionable, or it's actionable. Like, you could definitely put in more work, but the problem with the work harder narrative is it's always is really contingent on post hoc analysis, right? After the fact, if you accomplished your goal, you tell yourself this narrative: I worked so hard, I got my goal, it was great, it was all hard work. And then if you fail at hitting your goal, then what you tell yourself is, oh, I didn't work hard enough, right? And it seems a bit independent of if your intervention was actually effective. Your intervention is working hard. But when it's like, I practice 1 hour a day, and then you miss, you're like, well, I practiced as much as I thought I needed to, but I still didn't hit it, so maybe I need to practice more, right? It's something that is, you're not going to be giving yourself grief, right? The like, oh, I didn't work hard enough if you don't hit your goal. And also, if you do hit your goal, and because you just got lucky, you're not going to kid yourself into thinking, like, for example, let's say there's an upcoming tournament in something, a sport, badminton, and you are like, I'm going to practice 1 hour a day. And I'm just going to work harder. And then you don't work harder at all. And then you just win the badminton tournament. And you're like, oh, I worked so hard. Obviously, you didn't work hard. You won the badminton tournament. So that could be an example of a goal. Winning the tournament is not a lot of these things, right? It's not actionable because sometimes there's just someone who's better than you, and you're just not going to be able to accomplish your goal. And so when you lose to someone who's just like way better, just like way out of your league, saying you didn't accomplish your goal, it's like, maybe that's not a good goal to begin with, because it's like maybe something not in your control, right? And so, but if you say to yourself, I want to put in hard work, that is something within your control. But then hard work's not very measurable or actionable. So you say to yourself, I want to train 1 hour a day, on average, let's say, because like maybe you train 3 hours, a little over twice a week. That's something that's like measurable and actionable. It's relevant. Practicing your sport's a good way of getting better at it. It's specific. If you want to win the tournament, like doing something like just running a lot maybe isn't the best sort of training, although I don't know what badminton training looks like. And it's timely. Like, you can always go out and practice, but like, yeah. So like winning a tournament's maybe not the best goal. Something where you're like, I'm going to practice X hours a day. I was trying to make a larger point. I think I forgot. Anyways, if anyone has any of the, as far as discussion goes, I'm always interested to hear there are several permutations of like SMART that all come down to the same 5 ideas basically, but are different words. And if anyone has any of the other permutations and wants to put them in the comments, that would be awesome. Or if they think they have another principle that's important for goal setting, feel free to put it in the comments. And have a good one.